Okay, so we're going to finish up with 2.3 and 2.4. 2.3 is just rate of change, which is slope. We've already talked about that in the other sections. So slope is rise over run, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, so all that good stuff. So this is really just kind of a vocab term that you're going to need to know. Rate of change is the same thing as slope. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to 2.4. 2.4 is writing linear equations. So again, we're going to have to go back to the notes from before where it was y equals mx plus b, which is your slope-intercept form. Where m is what again? M is your slope, b is your y-intercept. Which one do you graph first? B, and then you do the m. So with this, you also need to remember that parallel lines have the same slope and perpendicular have opposite reciprocal. If you need more examples, go back to the notes from before from 2.1 to 2.4. Okay, so for number 1, we are going to write in slope-intercept form and graph. So they're going to give us for 1a 2 ordered pairs. The first one is -4, -1, and the second one is 0, -2. So they want us to write it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, and then they want us to graph it. So obviously I'm going to do those in 2 separate steps. So what I always do first is I write the y equals mx plus b down so I know what I'm trying to solve for. So whenever you do slope-intercept form, you need to replace the m and you need to replace the b with numbers. So for example, you're going to have something like y equals 2x minus 1. So this is a number and this is a number, but the x and the y are going to stay as x and y. That's going to happen every time. So in this particular example, we need m and we need b. They didn't give us m and they didn't give us b. So we're going to have to find m and b on our own. So I usually start with m, which is your slope, again, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I do -2 minus -1 over 0 minus -4. So do your math, keep it, change it, all that good stuff, and what do you get? You should get -1 over 4. So I'm going to go back in my original problem and say that y equals -1 over 4x plus b. So now all we're missing is b. Whenever you're missing b, usually what you do is you pick one of these ordered pairs. These are both x comma y's. So if you pick one of these, pick the easier one. I usually pick the one with a 0 in it if that happens. So you pick that for x and y and you plug it in for x and y. You'll be left with b. So in this particular example, we're going to say -2 equals -1/4 times x, here x is 0, plus b, and solve for b. So -2 equals -1/4 times 0 is 0, plus b. 0 plus b is just b, so b is -2. So if I go back up here, I can write my final answer. Y equals -1/4 x. Don't write plus minus, that's weird. You only want one sign, so -2. This is our slope-intercept form. On this particular example, you could have also just looked at this. If you have the ordered pairs 0, -2, that's right here. Isn't that your y-intercept already? So you could have just looked at it and realized that your y-intercept was -2. However, it doesn't always happen that way. That's why I wanted to show you this other method. Okay, so now we have to graph it. I'm going to rewrite the problem up here. y equals negative 1/4 x minus 2. So you always graph the b first. So m here is negative 1/4, b here is negative 2. You have to start with an ordered pair. So you have to start on the y-axis at negative 2. So go down 2 and put a dot. From there, you do your slope, which is rise over run. So I go down 1 and right 4. So down 1 and right 4. Down 1, right 4. Sorry, it's hard to see. And put another dot. You only need 2 ordered pairs to make a line. So you can go ahead and draw your line now, but some people prefer to do it this way. This is the same thing. You can go up 1 and left 4. So from here, I can go up 1 and left 4. It's the same thing. All you need are 2 ordered pairs though to make a line. Ooh, sorry, that's bad. Okay, so there's your line. But you only need 2 dots. Okay? Whoa. I don't know what that is. There. Okay, back to our next example. We're on letter B now. So again, we want to do slope-intercept form, where the slope here is 4 over 3, and it goes through the ordered pair 0, 4. So you write y equals mx plus b. They already gave you the m, so it's 4/3 x plus b. I hope that you realize by now that 0, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, is your y-intercept. It is on the y-axis. So right here, you can go ahead and say 4/3 x plus 4. If you want to, you can go back and plug in 0 for x and 4 for y, which you're still going to get 4. So when they ask you to graph this one, 4/3 x plus 4, where do you start? M or B? You start with B. So on the y-axis, you go up to 4 and you put a dot. From there, you're going to go up 4 and right 3. These are both positives. So this is rise, this is run. So we're going to rise 4, so up to 8. And we're going to run 3, so right here. Again, connect your dots the best you can. Obviously, this didn't go through my dots, but pretend it did. Next. This time, they want the slope-intercept through 0, 6, 0, negative 6, and negative 4, 10. So we write y equals mx plus b. This isn't as easy as the last problem. This is more like letter A. So we need to find m, and then we need to find b in a second. So you use your slope-intercept form. Take a second and try to find your slope. So you would do 10 minus negative 6 over negative 4 minus 0. What do you get? Reduce your fraction, all that good stuff. So you should get positive 16 over negative 4, which reduces to what? Negative 4 over 1, which we just write as negative 4 in this type of a problem. So y equals negative 4x plus b. So again, if you understand, that is your y-intercept. When x is 0, that is your y-intercept. So don't do any extra math. So negative 4x minus 6. If you forget that, you're welcome to plug this in for x, this for y, but you're going to get negative 6 when you do that. So here's our answer in slope-intercept form, and then we need to graph it. So again, I usually try to write these down. -4, if you're going to graph it, go ahead and make it a fraction so you don't forget how to do it. You start on the y-axis at -6, which would be down 6. From there, you're going to go down 4 and right 1, or you can go up 4 and left 1. That's technically the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and go down 4 and right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 1. Or, if you look, up 4 and left 1. It's the same thing. Graph your line, and there you go. This time, these get a lot harder. I'm actually going to skip to letter B first. We want to write them in slope-intercept form, but letter B is a little bit easier, so let's do this one first. Again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Did they give us m? Technically, no. They told us it goes through the ordered pair 3, 7, and it's parallel to y equals 3/4 x minus 5. Well, what do we know about parallel lines? They have the same slope. So if we know the slope of this line, which if you look at it, this is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx, sort of plus sign, b. So the slope of this line is 3/4. So what would the parallel slope be? Exactly, it would be 3/4 as well. Once you get the slope of your line, which we just said it would be the same, so 3/4, you're done with that. You cannot use it anymore. So we have to go back to this part where they gave us x and y. We'll plug it in to find b. So instead of a y, you put 7. 3/4 times x is 3/1 plus b. Take a minute, try to finish that out. I'm not going to use a calculator, but of course you're welcome to do so. So 7 equals 9/4 plus b. You have to get b alone, so subtract by 9/4 on both sides. Use your calculator if you want to. And you get 4 3/4. So on this one, when you get your final answer, it's going to be y equals 3/4 x plus 4 3/4. This one did not ask you to graph it. If it had, you might want to go ahead and say that that's 4.75. And so you would start there as best you can, and you would go up 3 and right 4. But we didn't have to graph it, so this is fine. This is our final answer. So let's go back to letter A. This one's a little bit harder. The reason this one's harder is because it asks you for perpendicular. So it's the same process. It's through the ordered pair 5, -6, perpendicular to the line y equals -3/2 x plus 7. So I know that no matter what, my final answer is going to be y equals mx plus b. So I can get m from this line. The slope of this line is what? -3/2. So the perpendicular slope, if you go back to your notes, is the opposite reciprocal. The opposite of a negative is a positive. The reciprocal, or flip, is 2/3. So our slope is 2/3. Once you get that information, you cannot use that anymore. It is not going to help you. They do not have the same y-intercept or anything like that. So now the only option is to plug this in for x and y to get b. So instead of a y, you put -6. Oops, that's not a negative. And then 2/3 instead of an x, you put 5, or 5/1 if you're not going to use a calculator. Take a second and finish this without me if you can. Try to use your calculator since you don't have to know fractions on your own. So I'm not going to use a calculator. I get -6 equals 10/3 plus b. Subtract 10/3 from both sides and you get -28/3 equals b. So my final answer is y equals 2/3 x minus 28/3. If you have 9 1/3, that's the same thing. If you have 9.3 repeating, that's okay too, but really you need to try to stick with one of these, especially since we're not graphing. As long as it's reduced, you're fine. Okay, letter C. Through the ordered pair 2, -1 with an undefined slope. There's more than one way to do this. You can go back and you can plug you can plug numbers in for an undefined slope. However, if you can memorize what an undefined slope looks like, the ordered pair 2, -1 is right here. Does an undefined slope go up and down or left and right? It goes up and down. So this line looks like this. If you remember to our notes from yesterday, is that x equals something or y equals something? This is x equals something. So you go up here, the x is 2. So your answer to this problem is just x is 2. It's not going to look like the ones before because it doesn't follow the same pattern. When you have a zero slope or an undefined slope, it's going to look like this or like the one I'm going to do in a second. So let's try letter D. This time it's through -3, 2 with a zero slope. So -3, 2 is right here. Does a zero slope go up and down, vertical, or left and right, horizontal? If you remember from your notes, it goes horizontally. Now, is that x equals something or y equals something? That is y equals something. What are all the y values on this line? 2. So our answer is just y equals 2. These are supposed to be easier because there's less thought process involved in them, but at the same time they are a little bit harder for people who can't memorize which way they go. So if you ever get stuck, if you look, this is the ordered pair 0, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. What are all the y's? 2. Take a moment, write down any questions you may have, and come and ask me later.